legend, associate editor of The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. So, Trevor, wow, lots to unpack. Can we kick off with this utterly vicious but brilliant attack from Lord David Frost, a man I greatly respect, this morning? I mean, that was damning, wasn't it, against Penny Mordaunt?
Absolutely, and I think that it will have enormous resonance with the Tory party, for whom David Frost is something of a hero. In fact, there are quite a few people in the party who would have liked to have seen him leave the House of Lords and put his own hat in the ring as
yeah, I would
leader.
have.
I think that this is really serious for Penny, who has made an extraordinary rise from almost as much obscurity, really, as Kemi Badenoch, and has soared to the front without actually any interrogation of her previous life and what she's said in the past. So now she's coming under close scrutiny. She's been exposed by David Frost and others of having changed her mind, or at least her public stand, on trans issues. And I think this will go down rather badly with those people who have offered her support so far.
What do you think of her, Trevor?
I don't really know her very much. I think that one of the things that has emerged in my experience of her, which is comparatively brief, I sat next to her at a spectator dinner. It was the only time that I really spent time with her. And she has this slight mannerism of being distracted, as if she's not really quite focused on what you're saying, or that she's semi-detached from the conversation. And that's the impression I've had of her in public as well. And it also chimes with what Lord Frost said about the fact that she doesn't really focus on the nitty-gritty of a very detailed policy, which is essential when it came to the Brexit negotiations. So, and also the fact that she's been accused of being absent for weeks or even months when she was trade minister. So all of these things will count against her, I think, as people start to really make up their minds in the closing days.
Trevor, the big issue the right of the party's got, of course, is that Kemi Badenoch has actually run a really brilliant and effective campaign. She doesn't have the experience, but she's got a lot more support from MPs than probably anyone expected. She's got a massive opportunity on Friday night and Sunday night to impress at these debates. Now, I'm a big fan of Kemi. I'm also a big fan of Liz Truss. You've got to admit, Trevor, speaking and public speaking and debating isn't a strong point for Liz Truss. So there's the potential that Kemi could actually outperform her over the weekend. If that happens, what does the right of the party do?
Well, like you, I've been a fan of Kemi Badenoch for quite a long time. I was one of the judges who picked her for Speech of the Year back in 2017 when she was literally a newcomer to Parliament, and I've been watching her progress ever since. It's been very, very quiet. She doesn't say very much, and she does so deliberately. She speaks very briefly, but she speaks incredibly to the point, and this is something which is very admirable and is admired by the fans that she's grown over that period of time. And what has surprised me over the last few weeks is that when you talk about the various candidates, the runners and riders, this is before they actually declared, you mention various people, and then you mention Kemi Badenoch. And everyone says, yes, Kemi. Now, if she were to run, I would back her. And that's come across the range. It's an amazing phenomenon, the way that Kemi Badenoch has arrived from nowhere simply by speaking some home truths.
So what does Liz Truss have to do? Or do you think there is a potential, Trevor, that the right of the party could unite around Kemi rather than Truss?
It's very difficult to say that's likely, simply because she is so unknown. And if she were to win, it would be an amazing event. But I think that the party at large, the grassroots party, is quite different to those MPs in the House of Commons. They're looking for different things. They're looking for people who they feel they can look up to and admire and respect and listen to and think that they represent their views. Kemi Badenoch does that in spades, and she carries no baggage at all in terms of previous government decisions. Her hands haven't been dipped in the blood of Boris and Theresa May and previous prime ministers. So she is literally a straight-talking, clean-skinned politician who hits all the targets with a bullseye.
What about Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak? Trevor, where do you stand on both of them?
Well, Liz Truss, I think you've identified her biggest problem, which is her speaking mannerism and the way that she presents herself. She is also a former Lib Dem, quite a devout Lib Dem in her day. She is also a Remainer, a devout Remainer in her time. She spoke quite openly and vehemently in favour of Remain. She now claims that she was really acting under orders from George Osborne, but for many people that won't wash. It has washed for important people like Jacob Rees-Mogg and various other members of the European Reform Group, and that has helped her enormously. She is now amassing quite a lot of support, not least tonight, as you say, from David Frost. As for Rishi Sunak, I think he's paying a heavy price for his relationship with Boris Johnson, his failure to resign sooner, the fact that he introduced more taxes. Okay, that was the price tag for Boris's flagrant overspending. But nonetheless, national insurance contributions went up, but the tax burden is now at record levels. Those are all factors which tend to cast doubts on his reputation as a right-wing Chancellor of the Exchequer.
And Trevor, finally, look, we know from history that the Sun loves to back a winner, and you have been there for many of those big decisions over the years. Do you have any idea if the Sun is going to back a candidate in this race?
Well, I think that a huge amount depends now on the television debates, and a lot of people could fall at this last hurdle. Also, some people might emerge as startlingly vote-worthy stars, and we need to wait and see. But we have some views, and you will hear about more of them in the coming days.
Fascinating stuff. Trevor, we'll keep in touch over the next week because it's going to be a big one.